Hey everyone, Marika from Hemisphere. Today what I'm going to talk about is this little idea of hashtag tension to task, which is a little concept that Antony Lo, the Physio Detective, taught me a few years back, and I find it really helpful in thinking about how we teach people exercise, because I think sometimes people have this idea that more tension is better. The more stable you are, the more muscular control you have at all times, the better, that somehow maybe it is going to protect your back or make you less prone to injuries. And this idea sort of gets floated around a lot, but I think as physiotherapists what we see is this is not always the case. So when we talk about tension to task, what we mean is we don't need the same amount of tension for all activities. So just to give you a really basic demonstration here, what I've got is I've got two 2 kilo dumbbells. Now if I was going to do a bicep curl with this is super easy for me. I could probably sit here and do 50 of them without much issue at all. Do I need to think about tension? Do I need to brace my abs? Do I need to really connect with my pelvic floor? Probably not, okay? So this is quite a light load for me. I don't really consider it to be offering much in the way of resistance at all. Now compare that to my 20 kilo bar here. So for me, doing a bicep curl with 20 kilos, it's a whole different ball game. So for me, I can actually feel that I need to work a little bit stronger through my abdominal wall. If I don't, I start to flail my body around quite a lot. I also need to think about my pelvic floor. So as someone who's had 2 babies and has a mild prolapse, I'm thinking as that weight increases, I just want to make sure that I get that exhale and a little bit of pelvic floor lift through the more challenging part of the exercise. So I definitely need to think about having more tension through my, dare I say, core muscles, because I hate that term, as I do these exercises. And so what that's really demonstrating is the sort of tension to task. Now what happens if we have too little tension? Well, we might start to lose form, we might be less efficient with our movements, we might develop some strain and have excessive movements in some areas which causes problems. What happens if we have excessive amounts of contraction? This is an interesting one because I think a lot of people don't actually consider it to be a problem. It's like, well, you can't have too much, can you? But I would think there's probably, I can think of 3 good reasons why too much tension for the task may cause you more issues. Number 1 is it is actually just not efficient. So you're actually using a lot of energy. I think when we talk about most sports, we're really trying to use as little as we can to get the desired effect. So for me as a martial artist, when I'm doing things like sparring, if I am constantly tensing every part of my body all the time, I'm going to get exhausted. I'm going to get exhausted really quickly and I'm going to really struggle to get through the bouts. So you want to be conserving energy as much as you can and using as little effort as you can through your exercise. Number 2 is the amount of intra-abdominal pressure that you can create. Now, if I'm lifting something that's quite heavy for me, like if I'm trying to do a sort of 3 RM type lift, I need to create intra-abdominal pressure. Okay, so we need intra-abdominal pressure. It's not always evil. We need intra-abdominal pressure to create the muscular tension that we need for higher loads. But if I am using that strategy all day, every day, so if I go to pick up a tissue and I'm bracing and really tightening my abs, over the course of time, what we might find is actually that creates a lot of strain in the connective tissues. What that might look like for different people might be, in some women who've had babies, it might present as pelvic organ prolapse. So that pressure starts to deviate south, okay? For other people, it might be a hernia. So whether it's in the inguinal area or in the abdominal wall. So hernias can start to pop up if people are using excessive amounts of pressure, and especially if they have some kind of weakness in the connective tissue. The third thing that I see a problem with excessive amounts of tension and bracing is that it makes you very rigid in your movements. This can mean that you are less responsive to things. So in a sporting situation, if you are really tight all the time, how quickly can you move away and accelerate to where you need to be? I remember having a chat to a friend he loves snowboarding and he had a lot of back pain. And because of this pain, he was adopting very much this sort of tense, like bracing type strategy. And I said to him, dude, to board, you've got to be like a spring, okay? You've got to be able to absorb the shock. So use your body like a shock absorber throughout all the different joints. By holding yourself really rigid, you actually create quite a lot more jarring through your body, which if you have pain is obviously not ideal. But certainly it doesn't allow you that responsiveness to different things coming your way in a sporting situation. Okay, so that's just my thoughts on tension to task. I'd love to hear yours, or if you've got any questions, so just pop them in the links below.